A sweeping set of driving regulations is taking effect across the United States in February 2026, and if you are 65 or older, these changes will directly impact your ability to maintain your driver's license. State departments of motor vehicles nationwide are implementing new testing requirements, medical certification procedures, and license renewal protocols specifically targeting senior drivers. Millions of Americans who have been driving safely for decades could suddenly face additional hurdles to keep their licenses, or worse, lose their driving privileges entirely. The steps you take in the next few weeks could determine whether you retain your independence and mobility or find yourself unable to drive. This is not speculation. These changes are already being rolled out, and the clock is ticking. Welcome back to U.S. Visa Info, your reliable source for critical information affecting daily life in the United States, from immigration matters to essential regulatory changes that impact how you live, work, and navigate this country. My goal is to provide you with clear, accurate information and practical guidance so you can protect your rights and make informed decisions. If you are new here, subscribe to U.S. Visa Info and enable notifications because important policy changes are happening constantly, and staying informed is your best protection. Today, we are examining the new USA driving rules taking effect in February 2026, with special focus on how these regulations affect seniors aged 65 and older. Whether you are a senior driver yourself or have elderly parents or relatives, this information is essential for maintaining independence and safety on American roads. The first major change involves mandatory vision retesting for all drivers over 65 at every license renewal. Previously, most states required vision tests only for new drivers or at sporadic intervals during renewals. Starting February 2026, federal guidelines adopted by all 50 states require comprehensive vision examinations for drivers 65 and older at every renewal cycle, which in most states occurs every 4 to 5 years. However, 15 states are implementing even stricter protocols requiring vision retesting every 2 years for drivers over 65 and annual testing for those over 75. These vision tests are more comprehensive than the simple eye chart reading you may remember from previous renewals. The new protocols test not only visual acuity, meaning how clearly you can see at various distances, but also peripheral vision, depth perception, color recognition, and glare recovery. Many seniors who have driven safely for years are failing these enhanced tests due to age-related vision changes that do not necessarily impair their actual driving ability. Conditions like cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, and diabetic retinopathy, which are common among older adults, can affect test performance even when properly managed with treatment or corrective lenses. Margaret from Ohio illustrates this issue perfectly. She is 72, has driven accident-free for 54 years, and still drives daily to volunteer at her church and visit her grandchildren. When she went for her license renewal in early February 2026, she failed the peripheral vision component of the new test due to mild glaucoma that is controlled with medication. Despite her excellent driving record and the fact that her ophthalmologist confirmed her vision is adequate for safe driving with her current treatment, the DMV suspended her license pending completion of a vision improvement program and retesting. She now cannot drive for at least 90 days while she goes through this process, severely limiting her independence and mobility. The second significant change concerns mandatory cognitive screening for drivers over 70. This represents one of the most controversial aspects of the new regulations. Beginning in February 2026, drivers aged 70 and above must complete a cognitive assessment as part of their license renewal process. This assessment evaluates memory, reaction time, decision-making ability, and mental processing speed. The tests take approximately 30 to 45 minutes and are administered by DMV personnel or contracted medical professionals. The cognitive screening includes tasks like remembering sequences of numbers or images, responding to visual stimuli within specific time frames, following multi-step directions, and making quick judgments about road scenarios presented on a computer screen. These tests are designed to identify early signs of dementia, Alzheimer's disease, or other cognitive impairments that could affect driving safety. However, many seniors find these tests stressful, confusing, and not reflective of their actual driving capabilities. Factors like test anxiety, unfamiliarity with computer-based testing, language barriers for non-native English speakers, and testing environment can all negatively impact performance. Robert from Arizona, 76 years old, went through this cognitive screening last week. He has been driving safely in his retirement community, never had an accident, and is physically and mentally sharp. However, during the computerized reaction time test, he struggled with the unfamiliar technology and the pressure of the timed responses. He failed the initial screening and was referred for a comprehensive neurological evaluation before his license can be renewed. This evaluation costs $850, is not covered by Medicare, and takes several weeks to schedule. Meanwhile, he cannot legally drive, making it difficult to get to medical appointments, the grocery store, or social activities. The third major rule change involves mandatory behind-the-wheel driving tests for seniors under certain circumstances. While not universally required for all drivers over 65, the new regulations mandate road tests for any senior who has had a traffic citation within the past 3 years, any at-fault accident within 5 years, or who fails the vision or cognitive screenings but seeks to maintain their license with restrictions. Additionally, family members, physicians, or law enforcement can submit confidential reports expressing concerns about a senior's driving ability, which triggers a mandatory road test evaluation. These behind-the-wheel tests are much more comprehensive than the basic driving test you took as a teenager. They include highway driving, parking maneuvers, navigation of complex intersections, merging, lane changes, response to unexpected situations, and demonstration of proper use of vehicle safety features. The tests typically last 45 minutes to an hour and are scored strictly. Common reasons for failure include rolling through stop signs, improper lane positioning, failure to check blind spots, driving too slowly or hesitantly, and difficulty with parallel parking or backing maneuvers. Dorothy from Florida received a minor speeding ticket 18 months ago for going 38 in a 30 zone. At 70 years old, she now must complete a full road test to renew her license under the new regulations. She is extremely nervous about this requirement as she has not taken a driving test in over 50 years. The anxiety is affecting her confidence, and she is considering simply giving up her license rather than facing the stress of the road test, even though she is a safe and capable driver who has never caused an accident. The fourth change involves new restrictions on nighttime driving for seniors. Several states are implementing graduated restrictions that limit when drivers over certain ages can operate vehicles. Starting in February 2026, drivers age 75 and older in 12 states will receive restricted licenses that prohibit driving between sunset and sunrise unless they complete additional certification. This certification requires passing a specialized nighttime vision test and completing a defensive driving course focused on nighttime driving challenges. The rationale behind this restriction is that nighttime driving presents increased risks for older drivers due to reduced night vision, increased sensitivity to glare from oncoming headlights, and slower reaction times in low light conditions. However, this restriction severely impacts seniors who live in northern states where sunset occurs as early as 4:30 in the afternoon during winter months. Seniors who work part-time, attend evening religious services, or have social activities after dark are finding their schedules severely constrained. William from Minnesota is 76 and works part-time at a hardware store. His shift ends at 6 in the evening. During Minnesota winters, it is dark by 5. Under the new nighttime driving restriction in his state, he cannot legally drive home from work. His employer cannot accommodate an earlier shift, and public transportation is not available in his rural area. He faces the choice of quitting his job, which he needs financially and enjoys socially, or violating the restriction and risking citation and license suspension. The fifth significant change concerns medical certification requirements for seniors with certain health conditions. Beginning February 2026, drivers over 65 with diagnoses of diabetes, heart disease, epilepsy, sleep apnea, stroke history, or any condition that causes loss of consciousness or impaired motor control must obtain medical clearance from their physician every year to maintain their license. This clearance must be submitted on a specific DMV form documenting that the condition is properly controlled and does not pose an undue risk while driving. While this seems reasonable for ensuring driver safety, the implementation creates significant burdens for seniors. Many physicians charge for completing these forms, with fees ranging from $50 to $200, and insurance does not cover these administrative costs. Additionally, some physicians are reluctant to sign these forms due to liability concerns. If they certify someone is safe to drive and that person later has an accident related to their medical condition, the physician could potentially face legal consequences. As a result, many doctors are declining to complete the forms or are setting impossibly high standards for clearance. Helen from Georgia has well-controlled type 2 diabetes and has been driving safely for 43 years. Her doctor has always said her diabetes does not affect her ability to drive. However, when she brought the new DMV medical clearance form to her physician's office, the office manager told her they have a new policy of not completing DMV forms due to liability concerns. Her doctor referred her to an occupational medicine specialist who charges $300 for a driving fitness evaluation and medical certification. This is an unexpected expense on her fixed retirement income, and she is struggling to afford it. The sixth rule change affects license renewal frequency for senior drivers. Many states previously allowed license renewals every 6 to 8 years. Under the new 2026 regulations, drivers aged 65 to 74 must renew every 4 years. Drivers 75 to 84 must renew every 2 years, and drivers 85 and older must renew annually. Each renewal requires completing all applicable vision tests, cognitive screenings, and medical certifications, along with paying renewal fees. The increased renewal frequency creates both financial and logistical burdens for seniors. Renewal fees, which vary by state but typically range from $25 to $90, now occur much more frequently. More significantly, the time and effort required to gather medical documentation, complete screenings, and visit the DMV multiple times per year or every 2 years is substantial, particularly for seniors with mobility limitations or those who no longer have easy access to transportation. The seventh change involves mandatory reporting requirements for medical professionals. Physicians, optometrists, and other healthcare providers are now required by law in most states to report to the DMV any patient over 65 whom they believe may be unsafe to drive due to medical or cognitive conditions. Failure to report can result in professional sanctions. While confidentiality protections exist, this requirement fundamentally changes the doctor-patient relationship for seniors who may now be reluctant to honestly discuss health issues with their physicians for fear of losing their licenses. Dr. Martinez, a geriatric physician in Texas, faces this dilemma regularly. He has several patients in their 70s and 80s with mild cognitive decline who are still functioning well in their daily lives and driving safely in familiar areas. Under the new mandatory reporting rules, he is legally required to report these patients to the DMV, which will trigger evaluations that may result in license suspension. He knows that losing the ability to drive will devastate his patient's quality of life and independence, yet he has no choice but to comply with the reporting requirement or risk his medical license. The eighth significant change involves technology requirements for senior drivers. Some states are now requiring drivers over 70 to have vehicles equipped with certain safety features to maintain full driving privileges. These features include backup cameras, lane departure warnings, automatic emergency braking, and blind spot monitoring systems. Drivers whose vehicles lack these features may receive restricted licenses, limiting them to daylight driving, local roads only, or maximum speed limits. This requirement presents financial hardship for many seniors on fixed incomes who cannot afford to purchase newer vehicles with advanced safety technology. Retrofitting older vehicles with some of these features is possible, but expensive, often costing several $1,000s. Many seniors drive older, paid-off vehicles specifically because they cannot afford car payments, and forcing them to upgrade vehicles to maintain driving privileges is economically devastating. Edward from Iowa drives a well-maintained 2012 sedan that he owns outright. At 73, he is on Social Security and a small pension. His vehicle lacks the backup camera and automatic braking features now required in his state for unrestricted licenses for seniors. He cannot afford to buy a newer vehicle or pay for retrofitting technology. His only option is to accept a restricted license that limits him to driving within 10 miles of his home on local roads only, which prevents him from visiting his daughter who lives 30 miles away or traveling to his preferred medical specialists in the city. The ninth change concerns insurance implications of the new senior driving regulations. Auto insurance companies are adjusting their policies and rates based on the new testing and restriction requirements. Seniors who fail any component of the new screenings, even if they ultimately retain restricted licenses, are seeing significant insurance rate increases. Some insurers are requiring seniors to complete defensive driving courses annually to maintain coverage or avoid rate hikes. Others are implementing surcharges for drivers over certain ages, regardless of driving record. Insurance rate increases are hitting seniors hard. Many are already on limited budgets, and the combination of more frequent license renewals, medical certification costs, and higher insurance premiums is making car ownership unaffordable. Some seniors are making the difficult decision to give up driving entirely, not because they are unsafe, but because they simply cannot afford the financial burden of maintaining legal driving status under the new regulations. The 10th major change involves the appeals process for license denials or restrictions. Seniors who fail vision tests, cognitive screenings, or road tests have the right to appeal, but the new regulations have made the appeals process more complex and costly. Appeals typically require hiring an attorney, obtaining independent medical or psychological evaluations at personal expense, and potentially appearing before administrative hearing officers. The entire process can take 6 months to a year, during which the senior cannot drive legally. What can you do to prepare for and navigate these new senior driving rules? First, if you are 65 or older, schedule your vision exam with an eye doctor before your license renewal is due. Do not wait until you are at the DMV. Get a comprehensive eye exam, ensure your corrective lens prescription is current, and discuss with your eye doctor whether any vision issues you have might affect DMV testing. If you have conditions like cataracts that can be corrected with surgery, consider addressing them before renewal. Second, if you are 70 or older and will face cognitive screening, prepare yourself mentally and practically for the testing process. Familiarize yourself with computerized testing if you are not comfortable with technology. Get adequate rest the night before testing. Eat a good meal before your appointment. Bring reading glasses if needed. Stay calm and do not rush through the test. If you have any concerns about your cognitive function, talk to your doctor about whether a formal evaluation might be beneficial before facing DMV screening. Third, maintain meticulous driving habits and a clean driving record. Avoid even minor citations. Drive defensively and cautiously. Remember that any traffic violation, even something minor, can trigger mandatory road testing requirements for seniors under the new rules. If you do receive a citation, consider attending traffic school if available to keep it off your record. Fourth, if you have medical conditions that require DMV clearance, discuss this with your physician well before your renewal date. Ensure your doctor is willing to complete the necessary forms. Ask about any costs involved. If your current physician will not complete DMV forms due to liability concerns, you may need to find a new doctor or locate a specialist who performs driving fitness evaluations. Fifth, consider whether safety technology upgrades to your vehicle might be worthwhile. Even if not currently required in your state, these features genuinely do enhance safety and may help you pass driving evaluations. If purchasing a newer vehicle is necessary and affordable, prioritize models with comprehensive safety features. Sixth, Take a defensive driving course proactively. Many insurance companies offer discounts for completing these courses, and they refresh your knowledge of current traffic laws and safe driving practices. Some states give credit for completing defensive driving courses when evaluating senior driver applications. Seventh, have honest conversations with family members about driving. Recognize that the goal of these regulations, despite their flaws and burdens, is safety. If family members express concerns about your driving, take them seriously. Consider having a professional driving evaluation done independently to get objective assessment of your skills. Eighth, explore alternative transportation options in your community. Investigate senior transportation services, ride-sharing programs, public transit options, and community volunteer driver programs. Having backup plans reduces the stress of potentially losing driving privileges and ensures you can maintain independence even if your license is restricted or suspended. Ninth, know your rights and the appeals process in your state. If you believe you have been unfairly denied or restricted, do not simply accept the decision. Gather supporting documentation from medical professionals. Consider consulting with an attorney who specializes in DMV matters and pursue the appeals process if appropriate. 10th, stay informed about ongoing developments with these regulations. The implementation is occurring state by state with variations, and some provisions are being challenged in courts. Subscribe to U.S. Visa Info for updates on how these rules evolve and affect seniors in different states. The new USA driving rules for seniors represent a significant shift in how states regulate older drivers. Proponents argue these measures are necessary to ensure road safety as the population ages and the number of senior drivers increases dramatically. Statistics show that drivers over 75 have higher accident rates per mile driven than middle-aged drivers, and age-related declines in vision, cognition, and physical ability do affect driving capability for some seniors. However, critics argue that these blanket regulations, based solely on age, are discriminatory and fail to recognize that driving ability varies enormously among seniors. Many people in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s are excellent drivers who pose no safety risk. Age alone is not an accurate predictor of driving competence. Furthermore, the consequences of losing driving privileges for seniors are severe. Driving is often essential for accessing health care, buying groceries, maintaining social connections, and preserving independence and quality of life. Seniors who lose their licenses face increased isolation, depression, decline in physical and mental health, and loss of autonomy. The implementation of these regulations also raises questions of equity and access. Seniors in rural areas with no public transportation alternatives face much greater hardship than those in urban areas with robust transit systems. Low-income seniors cannot afford the medical evaluations, vehicle upgrades, or newer cars with safety technology that might be required. Non-English-speaking seniors or those with limited education may struggle with computerized testing formats. The rules, while applied uniformly by age, have dramatically different impacts depending on individual circumstances. Here at U.S. Visa Info, we recognize that these driving regulations affect millions of American seniors and their families. Mobility and independence are fundamental to quality of life, and navigating these new requirements is stressful and challenging. We are committed to providing you with the information you need to understand your rights, meet the requirements, and maintain your driving privileges if you are able to do so safely. If this video helped you understand the new USA senior driving rules taking effect in February 2026, please give it a thumbs up and share it with other seniors and their families who need this information. Subscribe to US Visa Info if you have not already, and turn on notifications to receive updates as these regulations are implemented and evolve across different states. Leave a comment below sharing your experience or concerns. Are you a senior facing these new requirements? Have you successfully navigated the renewal process, or have you encountered difficulties? What questions do you have? Your stories help others understand what to expect and how to prepare. Your independence matters. Your mobility matters. Your quality of life matters. Stay informed, prepare thoroughly, and advocate for fair treatment under these new rules. This is U.S. Visa Info, and I will continue bringing you essential information to help you navigate life in the United States. Drive safely and stay independent as long as you are able to do so.